Back in 2009, I was making my first feature film, Bad is Bad. You can see it here on this channel. We were in the middle of shooting this film when my co-writer Chris and I had a phone call and we realized that the ending of our film was wrong. It made sense, this was a home invasion film. It was following a formula. Two bad guys had broken into this house, and at the end of the film, the worst of the two bad guys gets killed. The bad guy who has a secret heart of gold and the family whose house he broke into, they come to an understanding and they part ways. We had a binder full of storyboards for every single shot in the film. This was the most meticulously planned project I had ever done up to this point. So to completely change the last 10 pages was absolutely crazy. But the more we talked, the more we realized we have to completely change the ending. Not only does the worst, most evil character in the film need to live, he needs to be the only character in the film that lives. We changed that ending so late in the game that when we showed up on the day to shoot the last scene of the film, our actor playing George didn't even believe us when we told him, okay, time to get some blood on you because now you're gonna die. He was like, what are you talking about? I said, didn't you see the new ending that we sent? He was like, I thought you made some tweaks. I was gonna check it out this morning while we were getting ready. I'm like, yeah, you better check it out. You're dead now. I'm really proud of the way that we executed it. I think it was the best of all possible endings we could have done for that story. And I know for a fact that if we had done the original ending as scripted and as planned, that film would not have over 6 million views now. It wouldn't have paved the way for so many of the opportunities that I've had later in my filmmaking career. And the reason I tell this story is that I really am starting to believe that the ability to adapt, to be open to new ideas, new ways of executing something in your film, that is what creates those magic moments in films. And I'm gonna break that down with examples, not only from more of my own films, but also from some of my favorite Hollywood films that are probably some of your favorites too. When I shot Will the Machine, my biggest short film, we flew out to Virginia. We had a 5-day shoot out there, and one of our big days got canceled. We lost a major location, and we said, but you know what? We have this extra day in our schedule now. We gotta shoot something, otherwise we're just burning money. So we went out to one of our producers' mom's house and we shot for half a day in this beautiful home and we made it our main character's house. And we got to see what it's like for him being home alone. We would just look around this house and just look for opportunities to say something telling about this character. And it was the most fun we had the entire shoot because the stakes were so low. Just me, the actor, the cinematographer, and full curiosity and freedom to explore it. Chris, the actor playing Will, he's like, can you just film pointing this direction here? Like, this is so Will. He just runs across this empty room and does a layup on the ceiling. We even shot footage of him taking a dump, which we never ended up using, but we got it. We're out there and suddenly there's a deer in the yard. And that shot of a deer through a window and him staring at it, that just added so much magic to that film, to me at least. Similar to that, my short film Hawaii, I start filming and suddenly there's a raccoon outside the window and it's following the actor as he walks around. I'm like, immediately, we need to start shooting right now. I want this raccoon in the film. I don't know what it means yet, but I need it. Again, that to me was part of the magic of that film. I could never have planned for that. I couldn't hire a raccoon wrangler to come out and do this. I wouldn't have even had the idea to do that, but if I did have the idea, I think I would have liked it. One last example, because it happened so recently, my short Last Laugh Inc. on this channel. I talked about it in the video about how I produced that film, but the entire punchline at the end of the main storyline of the film was completely made up on the spot because our friend Tony, who's an actor, happened to be walking by the building while we were filming the end of that short. We started thinking, should we put him in the film? And then we just workshopped a line, me and the actors and the crew that were there. We figured out what he would say and we just threw him in. I had already set up the shot for the last shot of the store scene in the film and I didn't even have to change it. He just comes in right behind him as a second customer.
Got any blonde material?
And there's a much stronger ending to that part of the film. So being open and excited to adapt to these new circumstances that come and not feeling like you need to clutch onto your original vision and only include the things that you had planned for, that's what frees you up to expand and improve your films. And I'm not the only one that this happens to. I'm not the only one that values these unplanned moments. Look at some of your favorite films. Look at Taxi driver over here.
You talking to me?
You talking to me? That whole scene was not planned for. That wasn't in the script. Scorsese and De Niro, they were just rolling. They had some extra time in the schedule. They just rolled the camera and he just kept it rolling, and De Niro just kept trying things, and suddenly he does this "you talking to me," and he has this whole monologue scene with himself, and that is the most iconic part of that film. That's film magic right there. You can't plan for these organic moments that are going to have a life of their own. Look at Midnight Cowboy.
Hey! I'm walking here! I'm walking here!
That is another unplanned moment. A taxi cab went through the barricades of when they had closed the street for filming, and he almost ran into Dustin Hoffman. Dustin Hoffman completely breaks character and screams at the guy, but has the wherewithal, and so does Jon Voight, to get back in it and not let it ruin the whole take, and comes up with a line right afterwards that's brilliant of, you know, oh, that's a good insurance scam.
Don't worry about that. Actually, that ain't a bad way to pick up insurance, you know.
That made the film. That's the most quotable, memorable part of that entire movie. And it's the part that the screenwriter didn't write, the director didn't direct, the actor didn't even know before he said it. It just came out of his mouth. It just happened. The cameras happened to be rolling, and all these people were such professionals that they were able to roll with it and use it and keep going. So having freedom to be spontaneous like that is huge. And if you can actually plan that kind of spontaneity, then you're in an even better position to get some real magic in your film. Now, one way to plan for that spontaneity is to use, say, a 2-camera setup, so that if your actors are going to be improvising, you don't have to worry about continuity, because you'll have something to cut to that matches this completely different take from the last take. But 2-camera setups can be tricky, right? You got to have a second camera crew, and most of us don't have 2 of the same cameras. So you're using 2 different cameras, and if you've tried to match the color in different cameras in post before, you know that it can be utter hell and they just look real different. You're just fiddling with knobs and controls forever. Fortunately, the sponsor of this video, Cinematch, is there to solve this problem for us. This is a great tool. What they've done is they've analyzed how light rolls off and how the color science works for the sensors for all of the most popular cameras, and then their algorithm is able to match one camera to another. So all you do is say, I'm shooting with this camera, I'm using this picture profile, want it to look like this camera, and that's it. Cinematch does everything for you. And with Cinematch, it's great because if you have just some slight differences from your target camera to your source camera after applying the effect, then throw a LUT on top of it for your creative color grade, and everything's gonna come out in the wash because it's already so close. So let's say you're shooting a dialogue scene with 2 over-the-shoulder angles and you want the actors to be able to improvise. Put your Blackmagic Pocket 6K over here, put your Sony a7S III over here, and let Cinematch match those 2 angles, and you're gonna be able to use whatever you want. And what I love is it even has profiles for the iPhone, because that is my V camera of choice when I'm doing YouTube videos like this. So it's a very handy, very fast, an intuitive tool to use. I recommend it for anybody who finds themselves working with any kind of films or video that uses more than one kind of camera. So check it out, click the link in the description, you'll get 10% off your purchase. Thank you, Cinematch. Now, back to what I was talking about. And another way to plan for these unplanned moments that are going to add all this magic to your film is to maybe do what Derek Cianfrance does. Derek Cianfrance is the guy that directed great movies like Blue Valentine, The Place Beyond the Pines, and one of his strategies for filming is to roll on and on and on. Basically just let the camera go and let the actors continue going, because he's gonna capture things that you wouldn't think of, turns of phrase or gestures or ways of touching somebody. You know, you write a long dialogue scene and you film it and it's like, okay, I got what I had wanted. But maybe if you're doing it the Derek Cianfrance way, you'll just say, let's keep rolling. Actually, let's do the entire scene again, but this time with no dialogue. Don't say anything. I'm just gonna keep the camera rolling. And you're gonna get some organic, beautiful stuff, and you're probably gonna end up finding that you didn't need any of the lines anyways. He did a lot of stuff like that in Blue Valentine. I know the part where Ryan Gosling and Michelle Williams are out on the bridge and Ryan starts to climb over the fence to the bridge and she's freaking out. That was not planned for. None of that was in the script. That just happened, and he just kept the camera rolling and they just stayed in it, and it's a beautiful moment and a very beautiful film because of this strategy of going for and hunting for unscripted moments. Steven Spielberg, obviously very well known for knowing what his camera's going to be doing, he shot-listed all of his films until he did Schindler's List, and he intentionally wanted to do this documentary style of filmmaking, and he didn't want to inject himself into the telling of this story too much, right? He wanted it to be about the story, about the victims, about Schindler, which meant that he didn't plan out a single shot. He would wait until he showed up to set, and then he would point the camera where he felt it should be pointed and do whatever he felt intuitively should be done. And that's the film that won him the Best Director Oscar. Take my favorite working director, Paul Thomas Anderson. There Will Be Blood, Magnolia, The Master, the list goes on. He's famous for his chaotic sets. And I think the reason for that is he is an incredible screenwriter, right? But he's willing to throw away anything he's written or anything he's planned out as far as shots if he shows up to set and something strikes him as, oh, that's a good idea. Let's play with that. He just goes with it, you know. Makes a lot of work for the crew and the actors to catch up with him, but that's how you get this magic, and that's why I think he has the most beautiful films of anybody working today. I used to think making a movie was about preserving the purity of your vision for what this story is, what the idea is, what the shots are, how the actors are going to say it, what the lines are going to be, and holding on to as many of those things as you can, compromising as little as possible, and that's how you get your vision onto the screen. I think that's horseshit now. I think the best way to make a movie is to use these documents, you know, this script, this shot list. These are suggestions for you, right? These are written from HQ back at base camp, right? You're out on the field, you're on the battlefront commanding this whole production, and you have to use your intuition, the knowledge, the circumstances that are right in front of your face to make the best decisions for your film, for your story. And those might not have anything to do with the things that are in these document suggestions. So if you want to create a magical scene in your film, you need to be willing to adapt, and that means potentially letting go of everything you thought you had to do for your film and being open to what you're feeling, what your intuition is telling you, what ideas are just slapping you right in the face that you're not trying to see. That's how you get the you talking to me scenes that we all want, those organic, beautiful, magical, memorable scenes in films. That's all I got. Check the Patreon. Thanks for watching.